We continue to investigate the death of a man whose body was found in the southeast early yesterday morning. The Office of the Chief Medical Examiner is completing an autopsy at this time, and the victim has been identified as Calvin Timothy Brooker, 57, of Calgary. Brooker's body was discovered by a passerby in the 2700 block of 41st A Avenue Southeast around 8:15 a.m. It is believed Brooker was killed in his nearby home, and the body was potentially moved to the alley. Investigators have secured the alleged crime scene and continue to collect evidence. It is not believed Brooker's death was random, and he may have known his attacker. We continue to ask anyone with information to call us or Crime Stoppers. I'll try to answer any questions that I can. Keep in mind it's early in the investigation, but go ahead.
Inspector, what can you tell us about suspects or persons of interest or anybody in custody?
Well, investigators are still currently interviewing people who may have had the last contacts with Mr. Brooker and trying to determine what occurred prior to his death yesterday.
So nobody in custody at this point?
Nobody's in custody at this time. We have interviewed several people and will continue to interview more people today and try and narrow that down.
What can you tell us about the people who live in the home?
I believe Mr. Brooker lived in the basement of that residence. His elderly mother lived upstairs, and there may have been another male occupant of that residence as well. I believe that's what we know at this time.
Yesterday, one of the officers had thought that the person to find the body was somebody who lived in that home, and now you're saying passerby. Is that different? Or?
I believe it was the other occupant who was in the alley who found Mr. Brooker.
Not the mother, the other.
The other occupant, yeah. I believe that's the case.
That's a male.
Correct.
And that's 2708, that the house directly in front of the body was found?
Yeah, I don't know the house number, but Mr. Brooker was found in the alley behind his residence. I'm just not sure off the top of my head what the house number is.
What can you say about the condition of the body? I know you can't release the cause of death at this point, but maybe how long it looked like he had been dead?
Well, we believe Mr. Brooker was alive around midnight, and the call to us came in shortly past 8 a.m., so we believe his death occurred between potentially midnight and 8 a.m., and it would appear there was some type of a confrontation or violent attack that led to Mr. Brooker's death, but I specifically can't tell you what that might be.
Since it's believed that they may have known the attacker, is there any believed motive at this point?
Not sure, still trying to flush that out once we narrow down who may be responsible.
Is Brooker known to police?
No.
What can you say, appreciating that you can't say that much, but what leads you to say that this was not random, that he probably knew his attacker?
By virtue of the scene itself, which is still being processed, and by virtue of the condition of the accused, would appear to be violent in nature, which often leads to some type of a known dispute. Somebody who was in that residence may have been known to Mr. Brooker. Some type of confrontation, we believe, occurred, which ultimately led to his passing.
Do you believe drugs had a role in this at all?
I'm not sure at this point if it did or not.
Any weapons recovered?
Not to this point, but the scene will still be processed through the better part of today, so potentially, but not at this point.
What are your indications on number of people involved in this incident? Does it seem like a one-on-one confrontation or several people?
That's what we're gonna be working at today, is trying to figure out exactly what transpired in the hours preceding Mr. Brooker's death.
It's not often a body will get moved from a residence to somewhere else. Does that play into it? Does that say to you there could be more than one person?
Not necessarily. It does happen, albeit infrequently, but it does happen. So how it happened, it will all flush out during the investigation.
Well, is the violent scene in the basement suite of the home in question?
We believe so, yes.
And is the victim's mother, elderly mother, lived upstairs and she was home at the time?
I believe so, yeah.
Is Has she been helpful in terms of,
Yeah, she's has been interviewed. She's told us as much as she can that she has knowledge of, and we're offering her any support we can through victim services.
and to be clear, if you believe the killing happened in the basement suite, being moved, it was just moved from, basically, from there to the back alley, not very far at all.
Yeah, at the early stages of it, that's what we believe. We believe the scene to be, at least one scene to be, the residence, with the body located in the alley behind it.
And you have another scene or any other scenes?
Not that we know of this at this time.
Sorry, you might have mentioned this before I came in late. Is it believed someone else was in the home at the time of this violent confrontation?
We're trying to figure that out. Yeah, could have been one, could have been more, but that'll all form part of the investigation that continues today.
So, sorry, the other occupant who discovered the body, was he not home at the time that evening, or well, he discovers the body, but was he not at home that night?
He was for, I believe, for part of the evening, but we're still trying to figure out what exactly those hours preceding Mr. Brooker's death looked like, which involves interviewing a number of people.
Well, is he a suspect? I mean, he's the other guy in the house.
Yeah, I think anybody who had contact with Mr. Brooker in the hours prior to his death would be considered a suspect. This individual would be one, and there is others as well, potentially.
So he is a suspect?
Well, anybody who has contact with somebody moments before they die would be considered a suspect.
Has he been cooperative?
At this point, yes.
Is that person known to police?
I'm not sure. I don't know that for sure.